the human who helped a lost woman, and discovered she was a queen. The rain over Port Meridian fell in sheets of neon, every droplet catching the glow of 100 different signs. Elias Keir kept his head down and his hands in his jacket pockets, weaving through the evening crowd toward the tram. He didn't see the woman until she collided with him, light as a bird, breathless, her cloak soaked and clinging to a dress that had no business being in this part of town. I'm sorry," she said, the words clipped with an accent he couldn't place. Her eyes, a cold sea green, flicked over the crowd like she expected it to bite. "Please, a terminal. A place to call." Elias glanced around. 2 black drones hung too long at an intersection, lenses winking. The woman's polished boots and handmade fabrics marked her as someone who would interest the wrong people. He tilted his head toward a side street. "This way." They slipped through an alley strewn with old festival banners and steam vents. Elias keyed open the door to his workshop, coaxed a rusted chain to behave, and waved her inside. She stepped in like a shadow sliding along the floor, taking in engine parts, polished tools, and the smell of oil. "Name's Elias," he offered, shrugging off his jacket. "You look like you fell out of a museum." A corner of her mouth twitched. "Mira," she said after a pause, as if testing whether the name still fit. "Thank you, Elias." He brewed tea on a portable coil while she stood near the tiny heater. When her fingers emerged from the cloak, he noticed a ring, sunburst etched around a stone the color of first light. It hummed faintly, just on the edge of hearing. He pretended not to notice. "Terminal's down the hall," he said. "But if somebody's looking for you, that window faces the river. Easy exit." Myra's gaze softened. "You are kind." He kept his questions to himself. People came to the port to disappear. It wasn't his habit to slow their momentum. But when she tried the terminal, the line went dead on the first ping, like it had met a wall designed for it. Myra's shoulders slumped as if a thread inside had snapped. "Who's blocking you?" he asked. She swallowed. "Those who took what is mine." The workshop lights dimmed as the power dipped. 3 more drones passed the shop's fogged window and lingered. Elias cursed softly and killed the interior lamps. "We should move," he said. They slipped back into the wet dark, crossing under a suspended rail and ducking into the undermarket, where metal bones and makeshift stalls made a forest of shadows. Elias knew the paths that cameras never bothered watching. Mira walked with a strange poise, even when hopping over gaps or sliding beneath pipes, as if balance itself obeyed her. At the old transit cathedral, marble pillars cracked by moss and time, they stopped. Elias tapped a dead panel, peeled back the casing, and knifed a hidden switch. A service door groaned open. Inside, among stacks of forgotten crates, Mira leaned against a pillar and pressed a palm to her brow. "Breathe," he said. "You're safe for a minute." "I am not," she said quietly. "And because you helped me, neither are you." "That ship sailed when I brought you in," Elias replied. "Tell me what we're in so I can steer." She looked at him then, the sea green of her eyes gone stormy. "Mira isn't my full name," she said. Her fingers worried the ring, and the soft hum woke again. "Mirasol IV, of the House of Vespera. And 3 days ago, a cousin raised a private guard and declared me unfit to rule. They struck at my convoy en route to the outer houses. Escape. Barely." Elias blinked at the cracked ceiling. "Right. So I picked up a runaway queen in the rain." She watched his face, perhaps gauging if the confession would turn him cruel. "A queen without a kingdom is just a woman who is lost," she said. He thought of Port Meridian, how it had taught him the cost of asking for help. He thought of his sister, who'd fallen in with people who promised protection for a price she hadn't known she was paying until it was gone. He looked back at Mira. Then let's get you found. They worked in quick, whispered bursts. Elias knew a vendor who programmed identity chips for freight. He traded a week's earnings for one flawless mask. Mira practiced a dockhand slouch and hid her ring beneath tape. Elias charted a route through the Eastern Canal, where old maintenance tunnels wove beneath the water like latticework. Their plan: reach the public embassy level at dawn, when shifts changed and attention lagged. Before the sky paled, they crouched by a rusted gate, listening to boots on the iron catwalk above. Elias counted breaths. Mira whispered, "Why do you do this?" "For me." "Because the city's full of people who watch," he said. "And not enough who act." They moved. Twice, drones drifted near enough that Elias could see his own warped reflection. Twice Mira tucked him into shadows he didn't know how to find alone. Near the final junction, the tunnel widened and opened into a maintenance bay lit by cold morning. A squad waited there, the cousin's private guard, coats glistening with rain. A man with a viper's smile stepped forward. "Mirasol," he sang. "Little bird. Come home." Elias tried to put himself between them. The viper smiled wider. "And the mechanic. Port rats do love shiny things." Mira lifted her chin. The tape fell from her ring. The sunburst flared, filling the damp air with a tone that made Elias's bones buzz. In the light, every droplet hung like a planet. The guards flinched. "You usurp with hired knives," she said, voice ringing in the bay. "But my people are not bought. They are called." From the ring, a wave passed like a second dawn. Across Port Meridian, 1,000 small devices, dangerous, illegal, forgotten, heard the ancient signature of Vespera and woke. Loyalists. Attendants sleeping in cheap hotels. Dockworkers whose families swore oaths generations ago. It wasn't a command. It was a remembering. The viper lunged. Elias kicked the nearest crate into his shins, grabbed a hanging cable, and swung it into the next guard's visor. Mira moved like water finding its path, retreating toward the bay doors while the ring's tone climbed. A siren answered, this one from above. A ship knifed through morning haze and hovered over the bay, emblazoned with the sunburst in proper gold. Ropes fell. Figures in battered armor descended with the efficiency of people who had rehearsed being late to their queen. The viper tore free and reached for a concealed pistol. Elias slammed his shoulder into the man, felt the shot burn air beside his ear, and clung on like a dock rope in a storm. A loyalist's baton cracked, and the pistol clattered into the water. Hands lifted Mira. She reached down, rain cutting silver lines across her face. "Come, Elias," she said. "You got me this far." He hesitated, eyes flicking back to the life that fit in 2 jacket pockets and a workshop chain. Then he took her hand. Days later, the palace on Vespera looked like a city pretending to be a song. Court whispers skittered in his wake, but when the doors opened and Mirasol IV sat her throne, there was no hesitation in her voice. "Elias Keir," she said to a hall full of carved stone and expectant faces. "In my darkest hour, you built me a road out of rain. I name you Bridgewarden of Vespera, keeper of safe crossings. If you will have us." Elias remembered Port Meridian, its cruel corners and gleaming grins. He thought of all the lost people who would never reach a throne. He bowed, not as a subject, but as a man who understood the weight of a promise. "I will," he said. Later, on a balcony lit by unfamiliar constellations, Mirasol stood beside him. The night hummed with ships and laughter, and the ring's glow was a quiet heartbeat at her hand. "I was lost," she murmured, Even before the coup, I did not know my people anymore. Elias looked out at the city that had found its queen. Then let's keep building roads, he said. For anyone who needs one. And beneath a sky that never ran out of stars, a mechanic and a queen began.